Are you struggling to break into the cloud computing field? Or maybe you have been trying to figure out where to start with AWS, unsure of which certification or skills will get you noticed by employers? You are not alone. Many aspiring tech professionals face the same challenge. And in this video, we will simplify the path forward by breaking down AWS core services, pricing models, and why the Solution Architect Associate certification is a solid foundation for your cloud career. We'll also guide you on how to set up your AWS trial account so you can start getting hands-on experience right away. Also, this video is a part of our AWS job-oriented program, which is our paid program. So many of them like Tolu, Purnima, Abhyotan have already benefited from our program and successfully landed their dream jobs. We are offering you a sneak peek of one of our sessions so you don't miss out on this valuable content. Also, make sure to becoming a part of our upcoming free live webinar on how to land a high-paying job in AWS Cloud. You can find the registration link in the description below. So let's get started.
Right. So let me share you the agenda, what exactly I'm going to deliver the same. I'm going to say today. So first, I'm giving explanation about the syllabus, right? That what exactly I'm going to cover in this next 2 months. So I'll cover about the latest solution architect associate, that is 03. There are also some changes happen from AWS, so we'll go with the latest one. And also I'm also going to talk on some certifications, list of certifications about the AWS, whatever the certifications that we have, why exactly do that. And in case if you want to learn some more in futures, what exactly your, I mean to say, what should be the next certification that you can target. So that also I'm going to explain. I'm also give you some recap, recap about the AWS fundamental, right? So when I say fundamental, it means what? I'm going to explain you about what exactly the cloud computing, then about the cloud service model, deployment model, and I'm also going to explain you about the some basic information about the AWS. For an example, about the costs in AWS and how exactly you can compare the on-premises to the cloud. It's in one of the common questions, which ask in a interview, about the TOC. So anyone know about TOC? Anyone heard about it previously? Just if no, you can say no on the chat. If yes, you can just say yes. I just need your no. Okay, sorry, my bad. My apologies. I'm talking about TCO. Sorry, my bad. Yep. So that TCO I was talking about, my bad. So that is total cost of ownership. So obviously we are moving to the cloud, and the basic question that, okay, why should I move to the any cloud, right? What kind of the benefits that you will get, right? How exactly you can calculate the cost to the AWS, because what these are the software as a services. It means what this is a completely on the cloud, and this product, whether it is AWS, whether it is GCP, Azure, Oracle, anything. So those are what exactly it is. Those are the I can say it's a variable cost to the company, right? So how exactly you can calculate it? So that I'm also going to explain this. And in case if you have a time, I'll also give the information about the global infrastructure. Global infrastructure about the AWS, how exactly they can how exactly they can operate, or what exactly that compliance is. What's how do I, or how should I go with the right no infrastructure. So that I'm going to explain everything. So you already had a one sessions earlier, I guess on the 11th May. So may I know that how many people are they have already created an AWS account? If you have a AWS account, you can just say yes. If you don't have an AWS account, trial account I'm talking about, you can just say no. Okay, awesome. Most of the member, I can say 90 no 90% of folks, you already have the AWS account. That's great. If not, don't worry, I'll share the link shortly so that you can create. Hardly it takes 1 or 2 minutes, and I'll also share you the link that how exactly you can create the AWS account as well. So no worry. So Zahir has a question that is there any AWS IAM related certification available, or it is included in AWS security specialty certification? So see, there is a no any kind of special IAM certification, that's identity and access management. So we are going to cover in solution architect associate. In AWS security specialty certification, there is an IAM okay section. Okay, so but that is in related to the security part. For example, policies, then organize AWS organization, service control policies. So that things are covered in AWS specialty certification. In here, okay, in solution architecture, okay, we are going to cover about the how exactly you can create user groups, roles, policies, SSOs. So that I'm going to talk on this. Okay. So now, folks, okay, before I start this syllabus, okay, let me give you explanation about the certification. Okay, what kind of the certifications which AWS provide, what exactly the motto. Let me explain that first. Okay. So now folks, here you can see these are the all AWS certification. Okay. So now here you can see AWS provide total 4 type of certification, right? The first one is the foundational, second is associate, third is professional, and fourth is specialty, right? Now let's start from the basic foundational. So you can see, okay, from the day one, AWS provide cloud practitioner foundational. Now, what exactly it is? So let's say if the AWS is alien for you, right? Because why? Because this AWS is a product. Okay, AWS is a product. It's not kind of any kind of technology. The cloud technology that they have. So on the cloud, okay, we have a product. It's an AWS, and we are into the product training. Okay, because it's keep updating, it's keep upgrading continuously, which I explained it. So the cloud practitioner, it means what? It cover only the basic information about the cloud. Okay, the different type of okay the cloud, and only the basic information about the AWS foundational services. When I say the foundational service, it means your IAM information, then the storages, okay, virtual machines, container, etc. only. So it's only basic certifications, right? I can see most of the member, I can say 98% folks, they already have some, okay, job, right? They want to switch the career. So obviously, I'll not suggest this certification to you because there is no any value add on for your CV if you complete the cloud practitioner foundation for you. So who can, okay, go with this cloud practitioner foundation? So let's say if you are completely fresher, you are about to pass out or just pass out, okay, from the college, university, or let's say you are from the sales background, okay, where you just need to understand, okay, what exactly the AWS, what kind of the features that they have. Okay, because you need to create your own sales pitch, so you just require some little information. So for, okay, if you are from the sales background, then this cloud practitioner is enough. Or let's say you are from the project manager kind of background, okay, where you just need to understand the feature only. So then also the cloud practitioner foundation is enough. The next one is that, okay, we have the AI practitioner foundation, right? So when I say AI practitioner foundation, so AWS recently start, okay, this year only, the AI practitioner. So now everyone know that currently we are in the era of the AI. Everyone wants to understand the AI or learn the AI. So if you want to start your career in the AI practitioner foundations or in the AWS AI or the machine learning kind of thing, the generative AI. So here also you understand the basic information about those services. So it is just in basic information only related to the AI and the cloud and the machine learning. So you might, okay, visit some other institute as well. You might have some homework before you join the K21. And if you saw that, okay, more than 95 member, they always pitch the solution architect associate. So there is a reason, right? So there is a, okay, a reason. Now why? Because the reason is that the solution architecture is a main backbone for entire certification. If you want to understand or if you want to learn AWS, then you will have to start your career with the solution architect associate. Okay, so uh, Murli, I guess, right? So it is not for the beginner. You can say it is an intermediate, and the exam is also very tough. So now, why solution architect is a backbone, or why it is a most famous certification? The reason is that here you will understand all foundational service in very deep. It means you understand each and every corner of AWS. And once you understand all those basic, it is very easy to understand the other certification as well. For an example, let's say you don't have any kind of the knowledge and you directly, okay, jump to the developer associate, then it is a disaster for you. I'm not saying that is not possible. It isn't possible, it is, but it is very tough. Because why? Because you don't know about the basics, foundational services, okay, in very deep. So that's the reasons you can see that most of the organization pitch the solution architect associate first. Because as why? Because solution architect associate, it means it's nothing but it design, manage, planning as well. It means you need to design your entire overall AWS network. You need to manage them, and you also need to plan for the future as well. Right? So let's say you have some web application, web server, which is deployed on your AWS. So obviously you also need to plan for the next quarter or next year as well. So that's planning also you need to work on it. So the solution architect is nothing but it is a cost savior for the company, okay, who provide the ROI to the organization, that is return on investment. So as I say that I'm going to deliver, okay, this entire certification in coming 2 months. Then we also have the other certifications as well, right? For example, what exactly the developer associate? What exact developer associate? It doesn't mean that, okay, it give you the information about how to code, how to write the code, what is a Python code. No, it's about the how exactly you can help developer in the SDLC cycle. When I say SDLC cycle, it means your software development life cycles, right? And obviously, okay, from development to deployment, that is CI/CD pipeline. So AWS has their own different tools, okay, for in terms of DevOps. That is the, okay, CI/CD, that is the code build, code commit. These kind of the tools they have where you can use it for the CI/CD. So that information, that tool information, you will get directly on the developer associate. SysOps administrator, it means what? That is the manager, or I can say management of the entire AWS. For an example, let's say you want to create some repeatable deployment, right? When I say repeatable deployment, it means what? Let's say, um, let's say for an example, there is a QA department which required 100 virtual machines every week, right? They terminate it, they delete it, and then again they require again and again. Or there is a some DR things, kind of things. So where you require, okay, one-click deployment, right? Or let's say it's kind of more on troubleshootings. So in that case, okay, you can definitely go with the SysOps Administration Associate. And recently, this year also, AWS launched the Data Engineer Associate. Okay, there is a earlier there is a certification that's the Data Analytics Specialty. AWS retired those. AWS also retired SAP on AWS, and now AWS coming with the new certification that is a Data Engineer Associate, Machine Learning Associate, and the AI Foundational. So here again, you will understand the services, AWS services on the data engineering, machine learning, right? Kind of things. So again, here you have a different services. Then here also you have the professional as well. Now here it mentioned that 2 year of prior AWS cloud experience recommended. Just give me a second. So here AWS just mentioned about the 2 year prior AWS cloud. Why? Because it is very complex. Okay, you need to deal with a very complex, okay, AWS environment. So if you ask me that, Amir, tell me that top 5 hard certification to achieve. So this AWS Solution Architect Professional is one of the top 5, which is very, very hard to achieve. That's the reason AWS said that at least you have a 2 years of prior AWS, okay, experience recommendation. And then here you can also see that DevOps engineer. Okay, DevOps engineer, it means what? That's the combination of SysOps and developer associate, which become the DevOps. Here also you need to deal with a very complex, okay, scenario as well. And if you want to do some kind of the specialty, your, okay, let's say you have some background of the, um, let's say you have a background of networking. Let's say you have Cisco experience, or let's say some firewalls, okay, UTMs. Then you also need to deal with the networking in AWS. It is on the cloud, but obviously you need to create a lot of networking. I mean to say the communication from A network to B network, the communication from the AWS to your on-premises, right? So you have a on-premises environment to AWS, how exactly you can communicate, which is using the direct connection. So that also it is going to cover in advanced networking specialty, which is also one of the complex certification. Again, the next level of machine learning associate, that's the machine learning specialty. If you want to do some specialization in Amazon Bedrock, right? Some AI, generative AI tools, let's say Poly or something, then you can go with the specialty as well. And if you are from the security background where you need to deal with the, okay, the malwares, DDoS attacks, then port scanning attacks to AWS. Okay, this is only related to the AWS. For an example, let's say you want to perform some vulnerability manager scan on AWS. You want to find out the vulnerability, you want to find out some kind of the malware, prevent DDoS attack. Then here you will understand, okay, here you will understand the security specialty. Okay, now those security specialty, okay, is only related to AWS. So you might have a question that, Amir, this is entire on the cloud. Okay, so AWS should take the responsibility of the security. So no, there isn't shared responsibility model. I hope in last session you understand about AWS shared responsibility model, where security in the cloud, it means the customer responsibility, and security of the cloud, it means the AWS responsibility. So if you're launching some virtual machine, storing some data, then it is a customer responsibility. So if you want to understand or if you want to learn the AWS, then you need to start with the solution architect associate only. That's the backbone, the main certification. And once you understand the solution architect associate, it is very easy for you to jump to any other certifications as well. except specialty or machine learning or the data engineer. You require some basic knowledge to go with directly to AWS machine learning or data engineer associate. So there is a no prerequisites for the solution architects. Okay, if you are from the non-development background, if you are not a developer, you don't need the Java or Python or something, no need to worry. Even though I'm not from the developer background, I'm completely on from the infra background and security background. So the here it's not like that. Uh, let's suppose you are from the how much the cost. Yes, I'll explain the cost, everything, Zahir. Just allow me 1 minute. So it's not like that you need to start. So let's say if you want to go with the certification, the global certification, then you need to start with some cloud practitioner foundation first. Then okay, the solution architect, then developer, then this, okay, then this, then this. No, you can jump to any certification anytime. There is a no prerequisites. Let's say you are okay, you're from the as I said, that security background, you know each and everything about the on-premises security. You can go with the specialty certification directly. I'm talking about certification, not training. Obviously, the training is the important, but let's say you want to skip the foundational, associate, professional, you can also directly jump to the specialty. If you talk about my example, right? So I started my career with the solution architect associate, okay, 7, 8 years back. So in that, okay, first I completed solution architect associate. Then my bread and butter, okay, was the security. So directly after completing this certification, solution architect certification, I directly jumped to the security specialty, right? And then I completed the solution architect professional, right? And then I completed the networking specialty. And recently, I also completed the AI practitioner foundation, right? So for me, from associate to specialty, specialty to professional, professional to foundational directly. And now I'm also preparing for the data engineer associate. Okay, so once I prepare, I'll go with the data engineer associate. So now the cost, okay, or let's talk about for certification. Certification validity is for 3 years because it's a technology certification. Technology certification has a validity. And as I said that this is a completely product. AWS up continuously updating, upgrading, okay, continuously. So that's the reason, okay, that's the reason here, okay, there is a expiry for the certification. And now, okay, if you talk about costs, Zahir. So for the foundational, the cost, the global, right? The cost is remain same for in entire world. So the foundational cost is 100 USD. Okay. The cost is 100 USD. For associate, the cost is $150 plus tax. So here also there is a tax depend upon your country. So in associate, the $150 plus tax. For professional, it's a $300 plus tax. And for the specialty, it is also $300 plus tax. But here is a one good thing about the certification. Let's say for an example, you paid okay $100 plus tax. You go with the cloud practitioner foundation, for example, you clear the exam as well. Right? You clear the exam about the cloud practitioner foundation. Then what happened? You will get a 50% coupon code. And that coupon code you can apply to any next exam. Let's say for an example, the cloud practitioner foundation, then you want to go with the solution architect. The cost is $150. So you will get a 50% discount. So in $75, you can give the exam. Again, you clear the solution architect associate. Again, you will get 50% coupon code, and that coupon code you can apply to, let's say, security specialty. So the cost is $300, but you will get in 50, no, in 15, sorry, $150 only. Okay, make sense, folks, about certification part? Everyone? Okay, so I can say that you can treat this AWS, okay, as an Instagram product. So I hope everyone is using Instagram, LinkedIn, Atlas. Am I correct, everyone? You are using it, right? So day one, when you start using Instagram, do you know anything? Right? So, but now after working on or after spending hours or making hand dirty on that Instagram product, what happened? It is very easy for you, okay, to create a reel, to upload the photos, beautify the photos, chat, everything you know it. And I'm sure till now you never read any kind of release note of the Instagram update or upgrade. Because why? Because your basic is clear. You makes your hands dirty on that specific product. So you can easily adopt those newly changes as well, right? So in that case, okay, what happened? Because of your basic is clear, because of you makes your hand dirty on the product, it is very easy for you to use that product. Same thing you can treat for the AWS as well. AWS is just a product. We need to make our hand dirty on this product. So the only honors to get the job or to clear the certification, practice is the only key. There is no shortcut. Okay, so now let's go ahead, folks. Now let me explain you the syllabus, what kind of the syllabus that we have, what kind of the training that I'm explaining you. Let me share. Okay, so you can just ignore this timing. That's my corporate. Okay, so for corporate, it's a 3-day training. It's not like the 2 month and all. So you can just ignore the timing. Okay. So now folks here, so as I say that, okay, before we start, all right, before we start this module one, I'm going to clear some basic things, right? About, for an example, what exactly the cloud, different type of clouds, okay? How exactly you can pay to the AWS, all the practitioner kind of things. So once you complete the training, right, you can also go with the cloud practitioner and you can also go with the solution architect as well. Both the door is open for you, but I'll suggest you can go with the architecture instead of the cloud practitioner. So this is my training, next 2 month training. You can clearly, easily crack both the certification, but still I'm suggesting not to go with the practitioner. You can directly jump to the solution architect. Now, once I clear all the things, basic things, information about the cloud practitioner and everything, then I'll start the architecting fundamental. So now this architecture fundamental, it means what exactly? As I said that obviously it is a product. AWS is a product. We are using through the cloud. Now let's suppose, let's say this is my laptop. I purchase one domain, let's say www.mysongs.com, right? Now, what happened exactly? Okay, deploy, I create that website and I host that website in my laptop. Now, whenever you access mysongs.com, for you, what exactly it is in cloud? But for me, okay, what happened exactly? For me, it is in on-premises infrastructure, which I need to manage, right? So this AWS is same. You are just accessing the piece of software and the AWS will manage, maintain all the infra here. So we'll understand about the infrastructure about AWS, how exactly we can choose the infrastructure, what is a cost associated with it, what is a compliance part that we have. So that I'm going to explain here in the architecture fundamental, right? And once we complete that, okay, we will go, okay, with the our topic, that is IAM, that is identity and access management. So in identity and access management, okay, I'm explaining about the authentication and authorization. So now when I say authentication, it means what? It nothing but we are going to create some users to authenticate to log into the AWS. Authorization, it means what? Permissions, what kind of the permissions they have. Okay, whether, okay, so it's not like that you are using AWS so you are the only one who is going to manage AWS. No, there are many folks who's going to manage it. Let's say there is a database administrator, there is the no, the system manager, let's say security audit persons. Some required only specific access. Let's say I'm working only on databases, so I don't require any kind of any other resources. So that granular permissions you will understand here in account security. AWS is not only that you can access through UI, you can also access through the UI, that's in graphical user interface. Second one is command line interface, and third one is SDK. So we also set up, okay, the all the three options here only, so that we can access AWS via all the three method. Then once I complete this module 2, okay, we will go with the next model, that is the storage, right? So I skip this two part, that is networking and compute, so that I'm going to cover once we complete the storage part. So now in the storage part, okay, I'm going to explain about the storage in AWS. So there are different type of storage. For example, there is a elastic block storage, there is elastic file storage, and simple storage service as well. So how exactly AWS, okay, manage that storage? So in here in module fifth, I'm going to explain first S3. Okay, for an example, what exactly the storage option, why exactly it is called object based storage. And I'm also going to explain about how we upload the data, how we can share the data. Okay, then how exactly we can create a static website using the storage, how exactly we can let's say create a disaster recovery. Okay, how exactly we can create a policy in S3. So that I'm going to explain here in the, okay, in the storage part. Okay, so once we complete the storage part, then again I'll come back and I'll start the module 4 about compute. So the main module here is about EC2, that is Elastic Compute Cloud. So we'll understand that, okay, what exactly the EC2. Then we also understand about the how exactly we can launch a Linux web server, how exactly we can launch Windows server. Then the two remaining storage part, that is EBS and EFS. So how exactly we can attach EBS or EFS. I'm also going to explain you about the load balancer. Okay, I'm also going to explain about how exactly you can create disaster recovery for the virtual machine, how exactly you can create the scaling, right? Because nowadays every application required scaling. That's the reason cloud is famous. So how exactly we can do that, that I'm going to explain. And once we complete that, okay, I'm also going to start a backbone of the solution architect, that is VPC, that is virtual private cloud. So even though in your exam, okay, you will get maximum question on the networking part only. So I'm going to explain, okay, about how exactly you can create a networking, because it is a cloud, but still you have a different project, you have a different department who required a different IP address, right? It means we are not going to create physically any kind of the network. We are going to create logically, virtually create some network. Okay, we'll also understand that, okay, how exactly we can communicate to the on premises on through AWS. We'll also understand that, okay, there are multiple AWS account and they want to communicate via private IP address, how we can do that. So that I'm going to explain in a VPC topic in more advanced level. And then, okay, I'm going with the databases, right? So databases, it means AWS has the relational database service, which is a structured database. And we in AWS also provide non-relational database, that is unstructured databases. So there are different services like RDS, relational database services, then the DynamoDB, okay, the Elastic Cache, Amazon Aurora. Then the also I'm also going to explain about DMS, that is database migration services, where you can migrate your homogeneous and heterogeneous databases. Homogeneous, it means the same engine. Heterogeneous, it means different engine. So that also I'm going to explain in a database services very deeply. Then, okay, so this monitor, then I'm also going to explain about monitoring. Scaling, I already cover in the EC2 topic. So in the monitoring, okay, I'm going to explain about how exactly you can monitor your resources. How exactly you can monitor your storage, your block storage, your virtual machine, your networking, your databases, the DynamoDB. So that monitoring and alarm tool that we are going to understand in in monitoring sections. So there is a CloudWatch, CloudTrail, X-Ray, Event Breach. So that I'm going to explain here in the monitoring part. Then, okay, after that, okay, then we have the automation part. So now in the automation part, so till now we create everything manually, right? Whether it is storage, databases, monitoring, creating virtual networking, then creating virtual machines, everything that it's a manual process. But let's say if you want to create some automation, right? So there is a different tools, cloud formation, elastic beanstalk, right? The AWS CDK, then AWS, okay, uh, there are different from service, sorry. So how exactly we can create those automations? It means one-click deployment. Let's say every time you want to deploy hundreds of networking, hundreds of virtual machines, databases. So using just templates, you can create the automation part. So that I'm going to explain in automations. Then the container part. So we also have a container, different type of container. So let's say, okay, nowadays every application, every software application is microservices oriented. What is mean by microservices? It means, let's say you have a user, you have a topic, you have some, okay, some logs, everything. So every service is created in separate infrastructure. And I mean to say in a separate services. So it means what? If you require some downtime, then you don't need to, okay, you don't need to, turn off your entire infrastructure for upgradation. Instead of that, you can specifically, if you are using microservice, then you can just downgrade your, or let's say shut down the specific services. And it is not going to hamper your entire application. That is a micro service oriented approach. And for that, for deployment, the container is the best option, specifically in CI/CD pipelines. So I'm going to explain about in AWS that what exactly the Elastic Container Service is, what exactly the Elastic Container Registry. You also heard about Kubernetes, right? So there is also service on AWS called EKS, that is Elastic Kubernetes Services. Then how exactly we can deploy using the AWS Fargate or EC2. So that also going to explain in the model 9. Then networking 2 part, I'll cover in networking first part only. So, okay, I'll give a very high overview, okay, about the demos and everything. Then I'm also going to explain about serverless. Now, when I say serverless, it means, for an example, let's say you have some Java code, Python code. Okay, C has something. Now you have a 30-40 page of code, right? Or lines of code. Now, let's say you want to execute that code, then obviously you require machine, operating system, application, then you can execute it. But when I talk about serverless in AWS, you don't require any compute, you don't require any kind of hardware, you don't require any kind of application. You can directly execute the code on the serverless service called Lambda. So in serverless, I'm going to explain about the Lambda functions, SQS, SNS, right? I'm also going to explain about the API gateway, step functions. So that I'm going to explain here in the serverless topic. Then I'm also going no, explaining about the edge services. Now only thing is remaining is that managing the website. So the edge services, it means what? The services which is on the edge of the infrastructure. For an example, how exactly you can create the domain. You want to purchase a domain. So there is option GoDaddy. You can go to the GoDaddy, and then what happened? Um, then you can simply purchase a domain. But if you have a AWS, right? If you have a AWS account, then you don't need to go to the any other third party vendor. You can also register your website through Route 53. Here I'm also going to explain about web application firewall, right? How exactly you can uh, prevent the DOS and DDoS attacks. And I'm also going to cover some more security services, like how exactly you can perform the vulnerability scan, right? On your virtual machines, how exactly the system manager works for centralized management. Because obviously you have 100, 200, 500 number of machines, virtual machine. So obviously the main challenges in the cloud is that to maintain, it means managing the inventory, right? Managing the OS patch, OS backup. I mean to say the update patches, everything. So how exactly you can do that centralized thing? So there is a tool called SSM. So that I'm going to explain everything in the edge services. And obviously, as I said, you might learn about the yes, no, last week you heard about the shared responsibility model. So obviously, backup of your virtual machine, updating your security groups, then managing the your storage part is not an AWS responsibility. So there are some services which require DR backup, also. So there is a also solution AWS backup, which is a separate services. Then I'm also explaining you about RTO and RPO. I'm also going to explain about the different method when the DR hit, how exactly you can create infrastructure immediately on AWS. So that I'm going to explain here everything in the backup app recovery. And once we complete that, I'm also going to explain about the certification part. And then in the last day, I'm also going to share a lot of my documentations, projects, everything that I'm going to share with you on the last day. Okay. So it required at least 15 days. You can say take the six or 7 weeks. That is, you can say it's a 2 month. I hope you understand the syllabus, everyone. Okay. So let's get started. So as I said, okay, we'll start everything from the basics. So now if I ask you, sorry. So let's suppose if I ask you that what do you think? What is a cloud for you? Then what do you think? What is your one-liner answer? A very simple. No matter whether it is technical or non-technical. What do you think? What is your one-liner answer? if I ask you that, okay, what is a cloud for you? Okay. So now if you ask me the same question that, okay, Amey, what do you think? What is the cloud computing for you? What is a one-liner answer? So my answer is that anything which you can access over internet or intranet is nothing but a cloud. Anything, right? Which you can access over the internet or intranet is nothing but a cloud. So, okay. So now here, okay, the compute, what exactly the compute is, or what exactly the cloud computing, like an AWS, GCP, Azure, what exactly it is. So now folks, let me ask you a very simple question to everyone. Let's suppose, okay, this is your Uber taxi company. Let's say this is your Uber. Okay. Let's say this is your taxi. Let's assume it. My drawing is not that much good, but still, please bear with me. Please assume that this is an Uber taxi. And now let's say this is your personal car. Okay. So let's say this is your personal car. Now tell me, folks, what do you think? What benefits you will get if you are using, okay, Uber instead of your personal car? What benefits you will get if you use the Uber instead of your personal car? Okay. Okay, let me check the answer one by one. So Sunil say that, okay, actually, absolutely no parking required. So for example, let's say um, the no parking required means what? It's not our task, right? It is an Uber company that, okay, where exactly they park it. It means we also need to, in apartment or bungalow or whatever it is, we need to no, purchase the parking. That is our individual no, individual expenses if you have our own personal car. But let's say in case of Uber, it's a completely organization, okay, thing. No front court, use and pay. Exactly. It means what? This Uber is what exactly it is in pay as you go. Okay. Uh, okay, as Srinivas said that it's a pay as you go. It means what? Whatever you use, you just need to pay it. So let's say you just traveled for the 10 kilometer, you just need to pay only 10 kilometer costs, right? So it is just an pay as you go services, but in here in personal car, we need to pay the entire amount first and then we will get the car. Gaurav, can you please elaborate pay for what you need it means? No worry about traffic because obviously we'll get the driver. No hassle of maintenance on damage, etc. Exactly. So as Zaire said that we don't require any kind of the maintenance. Right now, it means let's say there are two type of maintenance. One is your let's say yearly maintenance cost, right? You need to book a services. You required some time, okay, and then okay, you can do the servicing. But there is another thing is that you are going somewhere and your car got puncture. So if you are traveling with the Uber, right, obviously they will never ask you that, okay, pay me the 50 bucks more because while driving with you, my car got puncture. So it's a completely Uber responsibility. But in case of personal car, whether it is running maintenance or whether it is scheduled maintenance, it's our own responsibility. Pay as you go service, okay? Car need maintenance, driving, okay? Anything, folks? So first you say that it's a completely pay as you go services. Okay, we don't need to drive the car. We don't require any parking space. It means security kind of thing, theft, okay, issue, nothing. That's taken care by the Uber. Then you also talk about the, I guess, maintenance, right? Maintenance is also not a part of us. So pay as you go, no maintenance, no security, then no parking space. What else, folks? You miss one main benefit. Scaling, exactly, Harris. It means, let's say today you're traveling single person, you can book a small car as well, which also cost very less. But now let's suppose if you're no, if you're going more than 4 or 5 people, then you can also book the higher version, sedan or SUV car as well. And you just need to pay accordingly. But in case of personal, upgradation is again the costly thing, right? So till now you said that, okay, the first thing is that the no driver, no parking space, security, theft kind of thing, no maintenance, right? It's a pay as you go services, and upgradation and degradation is completely free. Now, why why exactly I'm praising this Uber in middle of AWS session? Because you can think, okay, this Uber is nothing but your AWS, right? And this personal car is nothing but your on premises environment. Exactly the same thing, right? As you say that here, the first thing, this Uber, or sorry, this AWS, it means what? It's an pay as you go services. It means what? Whatever you consume the services, whether you run the virtual machine, whether you run the load balancer, whether you run the databases, all the services are available as a pay as you go services. Whatever you need, you just need to pay accordingly. Now this personal car, your on premise, it means what? We need to purchase it. We need to procure it. No matter whether you utilize 100% or whether you utilize a 10%, the costs will remain same. But an AWS, okay, if you know some utilize less, you need to pay the less cost as well. The maintenance, obviously AWS is completely on the cloud, so it's their responsibility to maintain their hardware, whether it is their running maintenance or anything scheduled thing. There's their own AWS head at. But in case of on premises, obviously it is our system or it's our own responsibility to maintain the hardware. Then you can say that's okay, we can upgrade it and we can degrade it as well. Now for example, let's say you are working with QA team. Now in QA team, what happened? Let's say you come to me. Let's say I'm working on premises. I'm managing the entire on premises environment. I'm the part of system administrator. Now you come to me as an QA person and say that, hey Amir, I want to test one application. Let's say it's an Red Hat, let's say some ABC application. And to test that application, I required the Linux machine, Red Hat, and let's say 2.4 gigahertz processor. Then I also required 40 GB of hard disk, and I also required the, let's say, 16 GB of RAM. Now, as a system administrator, I need to check whether that hardware is available or not. If not, I need to procure it. It means the more cost is involved. And then after 4 or 5 days, once my process is done, my procurement, there is some cycles of procurement is done, then I hand over that laptop or desktop to that QA person. Now what happened after a few days, that same guy or girl comes to me and say that, hey Amir, actually what happened, I just came to know that there are some other customers also who's using 2 GB of RAM. Can you please degrade this hardware? Because I want to test my application whether it is working on 2 GB or not. So now it means again, even though if you degrade the hardware, then obviously there is an additional cost as well. There is no change in a cost. But in case of AWS, the same situation, right? The same test case. So that QA guy girl come to me and say that, hey Amir, I want to test one application. Can you please provide me the infrastructure? So I can immediately spin up my EC2 instance and I can share with her or him. So within a 2 minutes, I can launch my virtual machine and I can share with the QA team, and QA team can access that virtual machine from anywhere in the world. Let's say after 4, 5, 6, that the same person comes to me and say that, hey Amir, this is what happened. 2 GB is required now. Can you please degrade the hardware? So within a few minutes, I can degrade my hardware, okay, from 16 GB to 2 GB. And let's assume that earlier I was paying $1 per hour for that virtual machine, and now I'm going to pay $0.75 per hour. Because why? I degrade it. It means if I degrade it, then there is a change in a cost. There is a more cost saving associated. So maintenance is an AWS responsibility. Upgradation, degradation is completely free. It's a completely pay as you go services. And most of the tasks, whether it is your DR task or any security task, is taken care by the AWS without any paying any additional cost. Because by default, whenever you create an AWS account, by default, you have a DDoS protection enabled. But in on-premises, we need to procure that. So that's the main benefit of the cloud. And I hope you understand why, okay, the cloud is more important. Why organization already moved to the cloud, or the pending one, they are also planning to move to the cloud. Make sense, folks? What I'm trying to say is here, everyone? Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So now, what exactly the technical definition? Just give me a second. Okay. So now, what exactly the technical definition? So compute power, it means creating virtual machines so that you can work, okay, deploy anything. Compute, like your system, your laptop, desktop. So cloud computing is what exactly? It is the on-demand delivery of compute power. Okay, your database, storage, application, and your other IT resources, and that is also via internet connection, and that is pay as you go pricing. And these resources run on a server computers that are located in a large data center in different location around the world. So whenever you use a cloud service provider like an AWS, that service provider own the computers that you are using it. And these resources can be used together like in building blocks to build a solution that help meet a business goal and satisfy the technology requirement. Right? So now here you can think, right? So as I said, cloud computing, right, enable you to stop thinking of your infrastructure as a hardware. Instead of, you can think it is in software. But what exactly it means? Okay, now let me explain here in this slide. Now, before I explaining this traditional computing model, let me tell you, okay, use case first. Okay, the real life, okay, one scenario. So in India, there is a one of the leading, okay, e-commerce website. It's called Flipkart. So now in US, like there is the Black Friday, right? So same thing, okay, the Flipkart team, they have decided that, okay, we can also conduct the Black Friday. And they gave a name that is Big Billion Day. Now, what happened? Their entire year, the website was working very fine. So their payment gateway, their databases, their compute, their infrastructure, their networking, everything is on the on-premises environment. Everything. And the website is working fine. And now what happened? Due to some business requirement, they said that, okay, let's conduct the Big Billion Day. And now what happened exactly? So normally their on-premises is able to handle the load. But that experiment, that Big Billion Day, it's happened first time in India. And now what happened? Everyone is trying to access the Flipkart. Why? Because they offer a very huge discount. And now what happened? Because their on-premises server is not that much capable to handle the request, server crash within a 2 or 3 minute, right? So the entire Big Billion Day was a flop show. Why? Because their on-premises environment was not that much capable to handle the load. So now, their management team found that, we got a very good response, from the customer. We must again, celebrate the Big Billion Day. But the problem is that their on-premises server is not that much compatible to manage the load. So now someone say that, okay, what we can do, we can purchase same additional hardware. Okay. But if I purchase, or if Flipkart purchase the same hardware, same server, everything, then what happened? They cannot prove the ROI. Now, why? Because see, this kind of the festival day or Big Billion Day, it's happened 5 to 7 times in a year. Let's say 10 times in a year. But the rest of the 355 day, your new web server or the server, it's sitting ideal. The utilization of that new server hardly 1% or 2% or max to max 5%. And the rest of the year, the resource utilization of that hardware, is very less. And that's the reason they cannot prove the ROI. So now what exactly the solution? So now the solution is, to go to the cloud computing. All right. Now cloud computing, it means what? You can rent out the servers because it's a completely flexible. So now what happened exactly? The Flipkart team approached the AWS and they said that, okay, I need the virtual machine over the cloud. So they provide the virtual machine. They deploy their payment gateway. They deploy the application. They deploy the database. They also create the load balancer scaling as well. And now what happened exactly? The in next Big Billion Day, 20 or 30% traffic is managed by their on-premises server, and rest of the traffic is managed by the EC2 AWS. And now what happened in case if there is a 200x load, then still AWS is enough capable to handle the request. So in case of there is a huge, the traffic, AWS upgrade themselves as well. In case of very less, AWS also degrade the virtual machine as well, right? And they just need to pay as per the use consumptions. So they use for the 3 days, they just need to pay only 3 days charge to the AWS. They don't require, to purchase, the hardware, right? They don't require any kind of the staff, physical security, nothing else. Because why? Because cloud are completely flexible. You can change more quickly. It's in cost effective. Make sense, folks? The benefits here, I hope you understand about traditional computing model and the cloud computing model. I hope it is interesting, folks. It's not boring. Need your feedback as well. So, okay. So now here you can see the cloud service, okay, model. Okay, there is a question, ADV of on-premises. So Murli, you mean to say what exactly the advantage of on-premises over the cloud? Okay. Any folks that you want to answer? Anyone? Anyone folks? Do you want to answer this question? So now folks, here, okay, you can see there is a, we understand the cloud. Okay, we understand what exactly the cloud is. Now there are three main cloud service model, and obviously each model represent a different part of cloud computing task stack, and it also give you a different level of control over your IT resources. Now, if you talk about first, that is the infrastructure as a services. Now, what exactly this infrastructure as a service it means? Hmm. So now, okay, I can say this infrastructure as a service, it means it's a building block. Okay. Now, what exactly it means building blocks? So let's say you purchase an apartment. Now the developer or the builder, right? They just build the building blocks only. And once key is in your hand, your flat or apartment key is in your hand, then you customize it. You can do a furnitures, okay, internal things, sofa, where exactly TV you need. That is depend upon you and everyone doing as per their requirement. It means builder give the infrastructure and then you build the home, your own home. Now service in this category, as I said, I called it as a building block. Why? But it is for the cloud IT. Typically, it provide you with the accessing the networking feature, computers, virtual or dedicated, and data storage space. It means these are what? These are entire infrastructure, right? Which provide by the cloud. So let's say you create a virtual machine with very high CPU, then you can use it for the web server as well. You can also use for the Active Directory, or let's say you are going to create some or let's say you are created some generative AI application where you want to train your LLM model. So in that case also you can use this infrastructure as well. So the AWS provide you the infrastructure and then you can use as per your requirement, right? So that is what infrastructure as a services. So this infrastructure as a service provide you with the highest level of flexibility and management control over your IT resources. And it is a more similar to your existing IT resources that many IT department and developers are currently familiar today. Virtual machines, VMwares, okay, say that is in on the cloud. So in infrastructure service, it means, okay, in AWS, it's called the EC2, one of the services. It's not the only services, but it's one of the infrastructure as a services. Then, okay, here the platform as a services. Now, service in this category, reduce the need for you to manage underlying infrastructure. Okay, it means usually your hardware and operating system, and it is enable you to focus on the deployment and management of your application. So in platform as a service, you don't need to rely on any hardware. Now, what exactly it means? Now, let me take the example. Let's say your sorry. So, for an example, let's say I come to you, you are managing the entire AWS, or let's say on premises. Let's forget about AWS. You're managing the entire on premises environment. And now what happened exactly? I come to you and say that, hey, I want MySQL. Okay. I want MySQL. Make sure you create, okay, update the MySQL application. Make sure you create about scalability, high availability, okay, backup plan, everything, right? Okay. So please provide me. Now you are working on premises. So it means what? First, you need to manage the hardware because they have some requirement. So you create hardware, networking, power, all the infrastructure. And now then, okay, you deploy the OS on top of that. And obviously you also need to update, okay, your operating system as well, because obviously it is in outdated OS, so update is required. And then you install, okay, the SQL app here, right? You deploy the SQL app, and obviously you also need to take the update as well, right? And then you obviously you also need to create the backup plan as well, because in case of hardware failure, operating system failure, anything can happen. So you must require to create a backup plan. And then you also need to create some high availability HA and all. And then for the configuration, okay, you hand over this machine, okay, to your client, customer, colleague, etc., etc. CCC. Now it means what? In this on-premises, this all the hardware, everything is your task, right? But as I said you, in the cloud platform as a services, you don't need to worry about any underlying infrastructure. It means this is the entire the AWS responsibility. You just need to select the application, okay, and you just need to configure. So that application is deployed on AWS hardware, and that is managed by the AWS. The updates, patch, the minor upgrade version, everything is managed by the AWS. That call the platform as a services. For an example, here the one of the example is RDS, Relational Database Services. And now you are more familiar, I guess you are familiar with this. Now, service in this category provide you with a complete product that service provider run and manage. So in most cases, software as a service refer to end user application. So with SaaS offering, you do not have to think about how the service is maintained or how the underlying infrastructure is managed. You need to think only about how you plan to use that particular piece of software. And as a common example of SaaS is web-based, free web-based email. That is Yahoo, Gmail, okay, Rediff, etc. Where you can send and receive email without managing feature addition to the email products or maintaining the server and operating system that email programs run on. So that's the software as a services. So there is a many services available in the AWS. Okay, trusted advisor. So that is also what? That is also a software as a services where you don't need to configure anything. You just need to run it. That's it. Now, so now the next one here you can see is about cloud computing deployment model. So there are also three main cloud computing deployment model, which represent the cloud environment that your application can be deployed. So now here, okay, when I say cloud, okay, so now the cloud based application is fully deployed in the cloud. Okay, it means everything, including your, okay, what we can say, all the piece of application software, everything, okay, is on the cloud, right? So, or else your application is migrated from on premises to the entire cloud. So we say that, okay, it's a cloud deployment model. So this cloud-based application can be built on a low-level infrastructure piece, or they can also use the higher level of service that provide abstraction from the management, architecting, and scaling requirement, which are for the core infrastructure. So everything, okay, is on the cloud. We say that, okay, it's a cloud deployment model. So, and the hybrid. Now, hybrid, it means what? Obviously, it's a mixture of on premises and it is a mixture of the cloud. So now the hybrid deployment is a way to connect infrastructure and application between cloud-based resources and existing resources that are not located in the cloud. So the most common method of the hybrid deployment is between the cloud and existing on-premises infrastructure. This model also enable the organization to extend and grow their infrastructure into the cloud while connecting the cloud resources to internal system as well. So where we use, for example, just now, okay, just now we say that, okay, it's on Flipkart. Now what happened? Obviously it become the hybrid where they are also using the on-premises and cloud. Hospital industries, as I say that where they're, okay, real-time diagnostic or real-time patient diagnostic, okay, uh, everything is on the on-premises, but it might happen that their application log, save, patient data is on the cloud because they will have to use the hybrid environment anyhow. Or let's say some factory machines or something where they want to create something, okay, print something. So their on premises has to be there and rest of the thing is on the cloud. So we can say it's a hybrid environment. And there is also the third one that is on premises. When I say on premises, it means it is also called the PCP, private cloud platform as well. So now let me tell you again example. Okay. So let's say um, I'm the owner of the CRM company, customer repository management. So now what happened? So I'm 100% on the cloud. I sell my, okay, the CRM to many company. Now company, they don't need to install anything. What they need to do is once agreement or some, the licensing part is done, they just need to go to www.mycrm.com, for example. They just need to provide the corporate credential, their organization email ID and password. Okay, and then they can see the all the dashboard, and some agent also receive the call from their customer as well. So the agent will, okay, I mean to say the entire call recording, the logs, customer logs, etc., complaint or some whatever it is, it store everything on the cloud as well, right? As a customer, they don't need to install any kind of thing. They just require browser and the internet. That's it. Now let's suppose, okay, the bank comes to you and bank say that, hey, we love your application and we also want to, okay, purchase it. But now the problem is that because of some compliance part, my compliance will not allow me to use any kind of the SaaS based product which store all the data on their data center. Because why? Because the customer, okay, might share some sensitive data. So, but I want your application for my bank. So now in that case, PCP come to the picture, private cloud platform. So now the owner say that, simply say that, okay, what you can do, you can just fulfill my requirement. I need this much servers, RAM, rack, stack, etc. And what I can do, my deployment team will deploy the my crm.com application on your premises, on your data center. So the other customer, okay, the general customer, they open www.mycrm.com. They provide a username and password and they can log in it. But for you, it's something like the 192.168.1.1, and you just need to provide your bank credential and everything is stored on your data, on your on premises only. That is what? That is also called PCP, is nothing but on premises cloud. Okay, so deploying resources on premises using virtualization and resource management tool. It's called private cloud. So on premises deployment does not provide many benefit of the cloud. It's sometime, okay, I mean to say it requires some dedicated resource. So in most of the cases, this deployment model is the same as your legacy IT infrastructure, but it might also use application management and virtualization technology to increase the resource utilization. I hope it's clear now, folks, about the deployment model. I hope everything is clear, folks. Okay. So now here you can see, right? So there are many similarities between the AWS and traditional on-premises, okay, IT space. Sorry, my bad. So now here you can see, okay, the firewalls, hardware firewalls. Firewalls, right? So it's like in, okay, security group here, okay. ACLs, access control list, is not, I think, nothing like a network ACLs in AWS. Your administrator, Active Directory, is also called here the identity and access management, where you can create user groups policies. Then your router, right here you can see the router, okay, is nothing but what? It's managing the load balancing. Your switch pipeline, okay, so we have everything under the virtual private cloud where you can create a virtual networking as well. Then on premises server, right? So the on-premises server is nothing but AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Okay, that is Elastic Compute Cloud. That is a virtual machine, right? And then here you can see the DAS. Okay, when I say DAS, it means direct attached storage. It means your hard disk. In AWS, it is called Amazon Block Storages. Storage area network, right? That is your, okay, I mean to say, that is the S3. NAS, network attached storage, that is your EFS as well. And relational database management service is like relational database service in AWS. Make sense, folks? These are the thing. I hope everyone. Now let's go ahead, folks. Now let's understand the advantages. Okay, the advantage of the cloud computing. So why are so many companies interested in moving to the cloud? So now this section, okay, I'll present a 6 advantage of cloud computing. Now the first one, advantage 1, trade capital expense for variable expense. Now capital expenses, okay, capex, right, are funds that company use to acquire, upgrade and maintain physical asset such as a property, industrial building or equipment. So if you remember the data center example in traditional computing model where you need a rack and stack the hardware and then manage it all. You must pay for everything in a data center whether you use it or not. By contrast, a variable expenses is expenses that a person who bear the cost can easily alter or avoid. So instead of investing heavily in a data center and server before you know how you use them, you can also pay only when you consume resources and pay only for the amount you consume. So thus you save money on technology and it is also enable you to adopt a new application with much space as you need in a minute instead of week or days. Maintenance is reduced so you can spend focus more on the core goals of your business application. Benefit from massive economic of scale. So by using this cloud computing, you can achieve a lower variable cost than you can get your own because uses from hundreds of thousands of customer is aggregated in the cloud. Okay, so the provider such as an AWS can achieve higher economic of scale, which translate into lower pay as you go pricing. Right? This is what happened to the Flipkart. Stop guessing capacity. So eliminate guessing about your infrastructure capacity need. So when you make a capacity decision before you deploy an application, you often either have expensive idle resources or deal with the limited capacity. So with cloud computing, these problems go away. You can access as much as or as little as you need and scale up and scale down as required with only few minutes of notice. Increase speed and agility. So in cloud computing or in an environment, new IT resources are only a click away, which means that You reduce the time it takes to make those resources available to your developers from week in a just minute. And obviously the result is dramatic increase in agility for the organization, because the cost and the time that it to experiment and development are now significantly lower. Stop spending money on running and maintenance data center. So focus on projects that differentiate your business instead of focusing on the infrastructure. So cloud computing enable you to focus on your own customers instead of heavy lifting of racking, stacking, and obviously the powering server as well. And the last main benefit is that go global in a minute. So you can deploy your application in multiple AWS regions around the world, and that is just a single click. So as a result, you can provide lower latency and better experience for your customer simply and minimal cost. That's the main benefit here. So now the AWS, right? Where the main pioneer of compute. So we called it as an AWS, Amazon Web Services. So now in general, right, a web service, it means a piece of software that make itself available over the internet or private network. So web server also use standardized formats such as extensible markup language, JavaScript object notation for the requests and obviously the response of application. I mean to say the API calls. And remember, it is not tied to any one operating system or programming language. It's self-describing via interface definition file, and it is discoverable. So a piece of software we call as a web service. So EC2 is what it's a web service. S3 is a web service. VPC is web services here. So, the AWS. I already told you that. So AWS is the first organization which introduced such kind of the service into the market. And obviously it is a most secure cloud platform. Obviously it also provides some global cloud plus base products. And these products are delivered over the internet. You have on-demand access to the compute storage, network, database, and other IT resources that you might need for your projects and the tool to manage them. So you can immediately provision and launch AWS resources, and the resources are ready for you to use in a just a few seconds or a minute. AWS also provide flexibility. So your AWS environment can be reconfigured and update on demand, scale up or down automatically to meet users pattern and optimize spending or shut down temporarily or permanently. So the billing for AWS service become operational expenses instead of capital expenses. And these AWS services are designed to work together to support virtually any type of application or workloads. You can think of this service like a building blocks, as I said, which you can assemble quickly, build sophisticated scalable solution, and then adjust them as your need changes. Right? And here you can see these are different categories. So this AWS service fall under different categories, and each category contain one or more services. So you can select the services that you want to configure something, different categories, build your solutions, whether it is any analytic services, applications integration, augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchains, everything you have. So this AWS is not like just creating the server or storing the files. No, it's more than. Even though you can also create virtual satellites using the AWS as well. So you can see that So let's say, for an example, okay, you are building one database application. So it means your customer might be sending a data to your EC2 virtual machines, okay, which is a compute categories. And these EC2 server batch the data in 1 minute increment and add the object per customer to the storage S3. Okay, so you can then use a non-relation database like Amazon DynamoDB to power your application, okay, to build the some index so that you can also find all the object for a given customer that were collected over a certain period. So you might decided to run these services inside the VPC, which is a service in the networking categories. So till now we use networking category, compute category, database category, storage category. Now the purpose of this simple example is to illustrate that you can select a web service from a different categories and use them together to build a solution. So in that case, what exactly the solution? That is a database application. Obviously, the solution that you are going to build is more complex as well. Right? It's not that much simple, but this is just for you understanding only. Now, in AWS, it is also important that when to choose what. Which service you choose to use, okay, it will depend on your business goal and obviously technology requirement. So now in the example, you just look at the solution made of the EC2 as a compute service, but there are other compute service applications as well, categories as well, right? EC2 virtual machine, Lambda is what? It is also part of compute. Just now I explained about serverless. Elastic Beanstalk, it's also compute part, but it's part of infrastructure as a code, where you just need to provide some code and AWS will create infrastructure for you. Lightsail, Batch, Outpost. Now this outpost, it means what? It is also your on-premises for AWS. It means if you require some AWS service within your organization or network, you can also choose AWS Outpost as well. Remember, not all services are available in Outpost. There are some specific service also, it is only available in Outpost. AWS Fargate, again, which is a completely, I can say, the serverless compute. You can host your Kubernetes cluster, container services on the Fargate as well. And if you want to deploy your VMware on the cloud, then the VMware Cloud on AWS option is also available. So now, okay, here, now let me explain you about fundamental of pricing. How exactly AWS charge from their customer. How exactly we can pay it. So now let me explain that. So folks, now here, there are three fundamental drivers of cost with AWS. Compute, storage, data transfer. And obviously, these characteristics vary somewhat depending on the AWS product and the pricing model that you choose. In most of the cases, right, there is a no charge for inbound data transfer or for a data transfer between other AWS service within a same AWS region. There are some exceptions, so be sure to verify data transfer rates before you begin to use AWS services. Outbound data transfer is aggregated across service and then charged at the outbound data transfer rate. And these charges appears on a monthly statement as a AWS data transfer out. So now here, okay, you can see how exactly you can pay to the AWS. Pay for what you use, Pay less when you reserve and pay less when you use more and as an AWS grow. Okay, pay for what you use, pay less when you use reserve, pay less when you use more, and pay even less as AWS grow. So this philosophy is what underlies AWS pricing. While the number and the type of service offer AWS have increased dramatically, so the AWS philosophy on pricing has not changed. And every month, okay, you pay for what you use. So you can start or stop using a product at any time. No long-term contracts are required. So AWS offer a range of cloud computing service, and for each service you pay for exactly the amount of resources that actually need. So now we'll take a closer look at these core concept of pricing. Okay, so now the first one, pay for what you use. So unless you build data center for living, you might have spent too much time and money building them. So with AWS, you pay only for the service that you consume with no large upfront expense. You can lower the variable cost, so you no longer need to dedicate valuable resources to building costly infrastructure. Include your purchasing server, software licensing, leasing facilities. Quickly adapt to changing business need and redirect your focus on innovation and invention by paying only for what you use for us, for as long as you need it. So all AWS service are available on demand and require no long-term contracts, and it have a no complex license dependencies as well. So for certain services like the EC2, that is no, cloud, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, and Amazon Relational Database Services. So here, obviously, let's say you want these kind of the solutions. I mean to say instance RDS. Obviously, if you go with the pay as you go, let's say for 3 or 4 years, obviously it not be cheaper, right? But you can invest in reserve capacity. So with reserve instance, you can save up to 75% over equivalent to on demand. So here you can see this reserve instance, okay, are available here in three options. That is AURI, all upfront reserve instance, partial upfront reserve instance, PURI, and no upfront payment reserve instance. So when you buy this reserve instance, so you receive a greater discount. When you make a larger upfront payment, obviously we are expecting some higher discount. And to maximize your saving, you can pay only upfront and receive the largest discount. So partial upfront, okay, reserve instance offer lower discount, but they give you the option to spend less upfront. And lastly, you can choose to spend nothing upfront and receive smaller discount, which enable you to free capital to spend on other projects as well. So by using reserve capacity, your organization can minimize the risk, more predictably manage budget, and comply with the policy that required longer term commitments. So with this AWS, you can get volume based discount, and you can also realize the important savings as your uses increase. The services like S3 pricing is tiered, which means that you pay less per GB when you use more. And in addition, data transfer in always free. So multiple storage services deliver lower storage costs based on your need. And as a result, as your AWS uses need to increase, you also benefit from economic of scale that also enable you to increase adoption and keep costs under the control. So as your organization evolves, AWS also give you option to acquire service that help you to address your business need. For an example, the AWS storage service portfolio, which also offer the option to help your lower pricing based on how frequently you access the data and the performance that you need to retrieve. And to optimize your savings, you can also choose the right combination of the storage solution that also help you to reduce the cost while preserving the performance, security, and durability as well. So this AWS Lee, okay, also constantly focus on reducing data center hardware costs, improve operational efficiency, lowering power consumption, and generally lowering the cost of doing business. So these optimization and substantial and growing economic of scale of AWS result in passing saving back as your lower pricing. Since 2006, AWS has lower pricing 75 times, more than that, okay, till 2025. And another benefit of AWS growth is that future higher performing resources. You can replace, okay, once as well with no extra, okay, any exchange. And obviously, AWS also realized that every customer has a different need. If none of the AWS pricing model work for your project, AWS also provide custom pricing, okay, for high volume projects with some unique requirement. So AWS also assign, right? AWS also assign the technical account manager as well. So if you are the customer of AWS, large customer of AWS, okay, assign one person who is responsible for all the pricing things. If you are not satisfied with the default pricing, you can always raise a request to your TAM, okay, so that you can get the customizing pricing. So TAM also suggests a lot of things. I mean, to TAM also the mediator between the AWS to customer as well. So it also help you in a support, okay, or even though cost optimizations that also, okay, TAM help you. So I hope, okay, you have AWS free tier account. So remember folks, there is a no difference between enterprise account and your free tier account. Both are the same. There is a no difference. Even though you can also use your free tier account as your enterprise account as well. There is no difference. So AWS provides, okay, the 1 year free tier. Okay. So remember this free tier applies to certain service and option. Okay. So for an example, we can run the instance EC2 instance for 750 hours per month. But it doesn't mean that you can launch any instance. There are some certain instances which cover under the free. And if you launch any other instance apart from that, then AWS charge you per second or per hour as well. So there are some services here you can see it's always free. Okay, for example, the IAM, Identity and Access Management. It means what? You just need to create the user group policies role. It's a configuration part. There is nothing kind of the resources that we are going to create. So those services like IAM, even though the VPC, it means what we are going to create. Okay, we are going to create the networking. So obviously it's a just a configuration. No resource are utilized. So in that case, what? It is a completely free here. Then obviously it's auto scaling features. cloud formation templates, those are the free. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. So, folks, as it is on first day, so request all the member that please create the account before we join the next class, because I'm going to start the practical soon as well, probably tomorrow as well. We'll start the IAM section, right? So there are some more, okay, information is pending, and then we'll start AWS console. So that's the reason I request all the member to please create AWS account. Great. Okay. So as it is in first day, thank you, Varsha. So now let me just explain what we have, okay, done till now, and then we can finish. So I hope you understand the syllabus, what exactly we are going to cover in next 2 months. Okay. Uh, then we also discuss about why we required or why exactly we are doing the solution architect certifications. So just now, okay, I gave the recap about AWS fundamentals, okay, some basic informations. I'll just explain about the cost, right? How exactly AWS costs, and right now I'm into the TCO, total cost of ownership. So I'm just started this TCO, total cost of ownership. Tomorrow, I'm also going to explain about this. So what exactly, okay, the more information about TCO. And okay, we'll also start with the global infrastructures. Okay. And we'll also start the IAM tomorrow. Okay. So from tomorrow, okay, we'll start our practical session for sure. Okay, thank you everyone. So thank you so much for joining the session. Let's meet tomorrow, okay, with more some topic. So thank you for your patience, folks. Thank you for listening. Let's meet tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Enjoy your things. Thank you, Zaire. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I hope this video gave you a clear idea of how AWS can be a game changer for your tech career. Remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore and master. So if you're ready to dive deeper into AWS, don't miss our free live masterclass. You can register through the link given in the description below and take that next step towards your cloud career. Thanks for watching, and make sure you watch this video next.